Hey everyone, this is Dr. Dustin Hendrix with Chiro MSK Specialists. I'm going live today and we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to have a screen share. We got some feedback from the last video and some comments. One thing you'll notice, the audio is going to be a lot better. I've got a microphone hooked up to us this time. The other thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to make it a little more clear on like the instructions and stuff that we were giving you. We wanted to get rolling pretty fast on this, but in the meantime, I was working on getting a class structure set up for us. So you'll notice that we now have Chiro MSK Specialist courses. This is the link that you can get to it, and we'll tag all of that. The other way to get to it is, and I'm sharing my screen here so you can kind of see what we're doing. You can also go to our website on Chiro MSK Specialists, and then you can actually go under our resources, and then you can go to our courses instead of blogs. So that's another way that will take you to that same link. You'll notice that this is going to look a little different for you because I'm actually editing and developing this myself. We did have a company help us with the template, which we're really grateful for, but that's why your screen will look a little different. So let's go ahead and show you, when you get into courses, Chiro MSK Specialist, how to kind of navigate this. We will be collaborating on these other courses in the future. We really appreciate the help on those, but this one's our baby that we did all by ourselves, and we wanted to make sure that this was free so there won't be any locks or anything that you need to get into this one. For now, you'll just click on chronic pain recovery, and this will be kind of your home page and where you would find your resources to start. It helps us a lot if you do go ahead and sign up and give us your email, just so we can stay in touch with you, and that also allows us to let you know when we have other courses and things coming out, some of those that you saw on there as well. And so on this one, we've covered most of this already in the homepage, but you can notice that we gave you little areas so you can go ahead and start this without a passcode. And we have the actual layout for where you'll get into your different modules here. So last week we went into how to recover from chronic pain. This week we're going to be going into our chronic pain treatment. This will be lesson 1, part 1. There's 3 parts. We have the lessons laid out, but if I feel like something is getting too in-depth, we're going to split it apart so that way it's more a little less overwhelming. So I do want to backtrack real quick because we did have some questions on the homework and the screenings not making 100% sense. So kind of bear with me here. I'm going to try to scroll low. This was last week's, and you'll notice we have our video up from last week, and eventually this video will actually be up in there as well. So if you scroll down, and you'll notice this is basically the actual notes and the things that I'm supposed to be saying, but sometimes I deviate and go off. So if the video is a little bit hard to follow, this will give you the actual verbatim notes. And you'll notice that these are the modules that we're building out. Today we're going to go into 1, and you'll notice part 2, part 3, and then you can actually look ahead to some of the titles and stuff. Those may change. We know what we're going to talk about within the title, but we want to make sure that's applicable to you. So sometimes we will change the titles to make it something that we feel like would be more directed towards what will help you instead of just what's inside my brain, because it can get kind of sciencey in there. So this was getting back to our homework and our medical evaluation. So let's just briefly go through this. We asked you to take the TSK, or the Tampa scale of kinesiophobia. It's really interesting because we did the 11 versus the 17. I am trying to scale this back to make it a little easier for people to be able to get through this stuff. And if you click on this, that's why we did this, so we can find errors on this one. Okay, so we had a little boo-boo on that one. I'm going to fix that one, and if I have to, I'll just copy and paste it inside there. The tough thing with me is I have these on my intake, but for me to be able to send these from my intake, I would have to email each and every one of you. That's something that I am willing to do. So if you're struggling with the scoring on these, let me know. I'm going to go back and make sure that this is working and figure out what's wrong with that. So we also had the pain catastrophizing scale. So let's see if this link works. Okay, so we got one. We nailed it. Okay, so if you click on here and you'll want to enlarge this picture. And so basically what you're doing is you're going to ask yourself all of these questions, okay? And then you're going to rank it based off of how that makes you feel. So I worry all the time about whether the pain will end. If it's all the time, you get a 4. And if you don't worry at all, you get a 0. And you're going to go through on each one of these questions, okay? So what we have seen with this, and we'll go back a couple steps, is when you get into the 30 to 52 range, you're starting to be worried about your pain. You're starting to hyper focus on it. It's starting to become something that is on your mind. And, this can be tough. This can really be like a wake up call, because sometimes we get in these patterns subconsciously and we don't even realize that it's on our mind all the time. So we've seen that. I'll fix the TSK. We're looking for a score around 23 to 24. Since I did the 11 instead of the 17, I just basically calculated the percentage of what the 17 is from where they put that one in their scale range to make it applicable to the 11. And then the other one that we're looking at is the central sensitivity intake. And so this one works too. I will fix the link on the TSK. I'm sorry about that. So how this one works is I feel tired and unrefreshed when I wake up from sleeping. And you're going to score that from a never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always. So never is actually a 0, and then it starts 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you'll go through these questions as well. And so what you'll notice here is I put it in here. So once you get above that 29, you're starting to get into the mild. You're starting to show high signs that your pain is not in the tissue and it's more into your nervous system. And then you'll notice, we have the moderate and then the severe. So the higher up that we go into these subcategories, the more likely that we're not dealing with a tissue issue. We're battling more of a sensitive nervous system. And that's kind of what we're going to get into from there. So what I'm actually going to do, and this will kind of help you see how we work through it. So, okay, one more thing to address. We had the pain journal homework. So you scored high on those, and we put the numbers for you to know kind of what the high and the numbers are on that one. What we wanted you to do was to start looking at your pain and journaling. So they say this is the first step. The reason why this is the first step is because you're going to start to become aware of your triggers of your pain. And that's really important because you'll notice they had mechanical, they had stressful, and they also had emotional on there. So we want to really start tying in with like, hey, what's causing us pain? So this is just such a great resource. This is where we want to start right here. And this will take you through everything. So it's great instructions. We really appreciate the people who made this, and we stand on the shoulder of giants, the people who came before us. So just really glad about that one. And it shows you kind of how to rank everything as well. So this is the first step, and this is huge. So what we were looking to do is we were looking to intro it. We wanted you to take the screenings. And so remember, if you didn't score high on the screenings, it doesn't mean that you can't benefit from this. What I mean by that is some people may have an acute injury and they may already be afraid. So they would have high numbers on the TSK or the scale of kinesiophobia, so fear of movement. So people like that would still benefit from that. But I won't want to get too bogged down on that one. And remember, if you're having trouble scoring any of these, send us an email. Send me a text, Instagram, private message. Just say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with the scores. Here's my email. And what we'll do is we'll actually just make the questionnaires on the intake where you can fill them out. And we'll score them for you, and we'll email you back. Okay? So I don't want to get bogged down on this one. We want to move to the next lesson. So chronic pain treatment. And you'll notice, we don't have the video here yet, but this video will actually be uploaded here on our site. And then, once again, you can actually follow along with me here with my case notes. And, once again, the first thing that we want to talk about is what questions do you have? What questions are coming up? We really appreciated all the feedback on the last one. You'll notice a better microphone. We've got a loading phase. We'll go through the exercises a little bit more with screenshots, things like that. So we are listening. We want to make this as applicable and easy for you as we can. Okay. Before we get too deep into the module, what is pain? Neuroscience education. To break it down, basically what we're doing is we're talking to people about pain. And the reason why we're talking to people about pain is because there's become a lot of misconceptions with it. And these misconceptions have led us to not move. And from us not moving, we actually will get into an issue where we get deeper and deeper into pain, and then we start losing our function of life. And when you first have an injury, if you feel a little bit of pain but you're still functional, you're definitely less likely to hyper focus on it. But once we stop being able to do the things that we love, that's when we get in that like chronic pain circle type trap. So the interesting thing is, traditionally we've looked at a biomedical model for pain. What that means is, let's take the bicep for instance. Like, hey, my bicep's hurting, so therefore that means I tore my bicep, and that works in certain subcategories. But we're moving into a category where the tissue is not the issue. So I don't want us to get too bogged down on this. It's not 100% a mind over matter thing. If you've sprained your ankle yesterday and you come in, obviously we're going to treat the ankle. But what happens when we've been in pain for 2 months? And I know if you just recently got injured, you may be like tuning out here. But what if you just recently got injured and you're now a little bit fearful to move? That's where this can help you on that. So they call it the Cartesian-like system. So basically, what that means is they're kind of connecting the body as dictating what's going on within the mind. And as we get deeper into that, we'll see that that's not the case in chronic pain. So this definitely plagued me a lot. What I mean by that is I came out pretty progressive for a chiropractor. To be looking at orthopedics and to be thinking, more medically and like tissue. That was pretty progressive at the time, because this biopsychosocial wasn't really on our radar. But it was really interesting. I saw a research article, and it was about patients who had disc bulges who were completely asymptomatic. And you can kind of read it right here. Prevalence of disc bulge in asymptomatic individuals increased from 37 to 96% people over 80. So what we were seeing is the older people got, the more likelihood they had of a disc bulge. And so it's really interesting because we now also have studies where we're seeing that a large percent of people have a disc bulge and they don't have any pain. So this is some of the research articles really kind of like to bring up to you, because now we have to start asking the question of, why does patient A have a disc bulge and their surgical candidate, and patient B has this exact same structural issue and they never had pain in their life? So obviously, this got the wheels really turning with me, and we're going to get deeper into that, looking at, yellow flags and nature versus nurture, and even looking at the science of how our body develops these patterns and what's going on with the science of pain. We don't want to get too lost in the weeds because this is a lot to unpill. This may be tough to hear already, because you've probably been to a lot of providers, and you're searching for answers. And this can really be one of those places where we have to kill some of the sacred cows. Those things that we're really holding on to that we're starting to move past now. If it's challenging you, I'm really sorry. I'm here with you. I know this is tough. Feel free to, when we get this posted on YouTube and on the channel, feel free to stop the video, take as much time as you need. Some people this will resonate, they'll get it, and some people, they'll just kind of need time. If we challenged you and you leave immediately, I'm sorry about pushing you on this one, but just remember we're doing this because we really want to help, and we really need to peel back these layers and these barriers. So another way to kind of think about this: have you ever had a bruise and you didn't realize what you did to hurt yourself? A lot of us have. So, I don't want to get too sciencey. Another story that was really funny was I was watching a YouTube meme, and this dad, he walks by a doorway and he wants to tease the daughter. So he smacks his hand on the doorway. But what he does is he grabs the daughter's head and he's like, "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry." And what happened? The baby started crying immediately. The baby she was freaking out, poor little thing. It probably sounded funny, but it was horrible when you think about it now. But that goes to show you how powerful it is, because obviously the baby didn't get hurt. All the dad did was just put his hand on the child's head and say, "Oh, you've been hurt." But the brain picked up on it. So you'll start to pick up on one of these key concepts of the pain actually being an output from the brain. And remember, if this is really, really challenging you, go back, listen to what we said. We understand, like, you twisted your ankle, you've hurt yourself. Okay, yeah, we got to treat the ankle. But what happens when we start getting pain for, 2 months straight and it's not going away? Now we have to start looking somewhere else. So now that we've kind of looked at that and introduced it, the big question I want to ask you is, what would you start doing today if your tissue was not the issue? Um, this is where it's really important. This is why we talked about ruling out the red flags. This is why we also tell you, if you need help, get into the office. Let us help you. We're not alone in this one. Psychologists, people who can do screening and stuff like that, that's also really important as well. You may just be too afraid to start right now, and that's okay. Just know you're not alone. It's a process. Take it day by day. My heart goes out to you. We're with you. Okay, we know it's hard. Okay, but just begin to start asking yourself, what could you start doing today if your tissue is not the issue in your life? What if you are battling a sensitive nervous system versus a structural damage that if you move, you're going to make it worse? So as we start reframing this, we want to do this so we can start asking you is there anything that you can do for 2 minutes that does not cause you pain? It can be anything. And that's where I talk with my clients, some people in the fitness industry, they get paid a lot of money to tell you that their way is the only way, but we're all so different. And honestly, it's the movement that our body needs. The movement brings, they say, the movement is the lubricant. They say motion is the lotion. And what they mean by that is when we move our joints, it lubricates them, it gets us blood flow there. So, the motion is the lotion. So you hear that a lot. That's what's so important, especially with these structures that have been damaged in our joints. And it's not just spines we're talking about here, knees, ankles, elbows, shoulders. So, the motion is the lotion. Get the lubrication, get the blood flow there, let the body heal. What can you do for 2 minutes? And now remember, if you just can't get started, talk to us, call our office. Maybe we can do a virtual screen. Maybe you can find another provider that you feel more comfortable with. Maybe a pain management MD, a psychologist, somebody that can help you. Because once we know that the tissue isn't the issue and we're still having issues moving, we do need to address that when we're ready. And I know it can take time. I'm right there with you. I know this is tough. So I want to talk about our homework. And what we're going to do is an activity guide. Okay, so when I tell you to move for 2 minutes, this is what I want you to do to allow that activity. Forget about the 1, 2, 3. Just pick something. It can be anything. It can be walking. It can be laying on your back, moving your legs. Stationary bike, getting in a pool. Hopefully you're not in Texas right now because it's cold today. But you can do so much stuff to get moving. And so they'll talk about the red lights, the yellow, and the green lights. So what we try to tell our patients is, I want you in this green light right now. We tell people safe, sore but safe. And this is really, really important on here. On this one, I typically tell my patients, if it's a 1 out of 2 pain, you're okay, but we want to track that. So say you have a 1 out of 2 pain when you walk for 2 minutes. Are you sore for an entire week? If you're not, then we're right where we want to be. Let's say now we progress you up to 3 minutes, but then you're sore for a week. Okay, maybe we need to take you back to 2. So this is what we call graded, or just progressive working into movement again. And then you'll see the yellow and then the reds are where we shut it down immediately. So remember, what we're combating here is an oversensitive nervous system, and if you go too fast, too quick, the nervous system is just going to flare up on you more. And so, this is probably pretty revolutionary already for you, just to conceptualize your pain of a tissue issue versus a nervous system issue. So go through this guide for us, pick out one movement, and see if you can do it for 2 minutes a day. And this guide's going to help you so much, and we'll go back over it a little bit more next week as well. I want to thank you for coming on us with this journey. I know today was a lot. As you can tell, this is gonna really, really challenge some people, and my heart goes out to y'all so much. I know this is really hard. It's chronic pain is a very dark place. It breaks my heart when I see patients like this, and people that are just so afraid to move. They've been told a lot of misconceptions about pain. That they have this tissue issue, and if they move, they're gonna make it worse. But, just think about this. We've seen it. We've tried to shut down people with degenerative joint disease, and it wasn't working. That's why rusty joint classes came out. And, we're going to talk more about the science and delve deeper into that, but I just wanted to give you guys some common examples. And just stick with me. And if you need to talk, we're here. Let's talk. We're excited about what this resource will do to reframe pain in your life, and take baby steps, guys. All right, thank y'all so much for being with me.